The KU football coaches used the NCAA transfer portal to their advantage this offseason, and it's helped contribute to a major roster facelift ahead of Lance Leipold's second season as the KU head coach. The Jayhawks have brought in 14 new players this offseason, and the haul of new incoming additions has KU ranked inside the top 25 of the 24/7 Sports transfer portal recruiting rankings. KU currently stands at number 21 nationally and number 4 in the Big 12. KU only trails Texas, Oklahoma, and TCU in those Big 12 transfer portal rankings. And KU added what could potentially be the final two additions for this 2022 roster as fall camp nears in Monte McGary, a Utah State defensive back transfer, and Lorenzo McCaskill, a Louisiana linebacker transfer. Starting with McCaskill, his rating, I think, points to how big of an impact he could make at KU, where in 24/7 Sports, we have recruiting analysts who give a rating to each transfer that are headed to Power 5 programs, and Lorenzo McCaskill was one of them. He comes in with a rating of an 88, which compared to KU's other incoming transfers, puts him at the top of the class. You're looking at him having the same rating as someone like Kai Thomas from Minnesota, Lonnie Phelps from Miami, Ohio, and Marvin Grant from Purdue. And I think that shows you what maybe should be expected of him going into his final season of college. And for those who might be wondering, what does an 88 even mean? Well, in the 24/7 Sports rating explanation, that comes out to, quote, a player with significant NFL upside who is expected to be an impact college football player, end quote. And when you look at what he did at Louisiana, McCaskill is just that, an impact college football player. He was the most used linebacker at Louisiana last season, playing a total of 589 snaps over 13 games. And when you compare that to the snap counts that KU players had, I think it shows you just how much those linebackers were relied upon last season. You look at someone like Gavin Potter, who was the most used linebacker last year, playing 673 snaps, almost 100 snaps more than McCaskill in one less game. I think you're seeing that over the course of a game, KU's linebackers were on the field for a ton of time. And I think that leads to them wearing down. And I think as a result, their maybe level of play was hampered towards the end of a game. And even someone like Rich Miller played over 600 snaps. And so now all of a sudden you're looking at McCaskill coming in and boosting a linebacker room that has undergone a pretty big facelift. I think you look at the linebacker group being one of the weakest parts of the defense last year, and that doesn't look like it's going to be the case this fall. Obviously, KU brought in UCF transfer Eric Gilliard and Ohio State transfer Craig Young before spring practice. So they've already been on campus for a few months now, but now they add someone like Lorenzo McCaskill to the mix and put those three with two players like Rich Miller and Gavin Potter. You have 5 linebackers that the coaches will be able to trust this fall. And that's before you even get to someone like Tylen Berryhill, who had a really strong offseason. He was someone that Lance Leipold was almost giddy about when he was brought up after KU's spring game back in April. So I think you're looking overall at McCaskill coming in and starting. And I think that that's what this is going to lead to, where I think your two starters are almost close to being locks in guys like Rich Miller and Lorenzo McCaskill. And then it's going to come down to someone like Gavin Potter, Craig Young, Eric Gilliard, maybe even Tylen Berryhill, who's going to start maybe that final linebacker spot. I've given my prediction to VIP subscribers of who that could be, and check that out. If you aren't already subscribed, you can start for $1. But looking ahead now, I think you're looking at that linebacker group going from the bottom of the totem pole in terms of the strengths of the roster being up near one of the top, because you've got guys that you can count on now down in and down out. And then you've got secondary players too that can help provide depth over the course of a long season. Another position group that needed some help this offseason was defensive back. I think you're looking at those two position groups, cornerback and safety, being two of the younger ones on the defense as a whole. Lots of underclassmen and lots of players who haven't used their red shirts yet. And so what you saw KU do this offseason was go out and get players with versatility. Guys like Jarrett Paul, Monte McGary. These are players that have versatility. They played safety. They played cornerback in their time, and McGary is just that. He's been around during his college football career, started at the FCS level, went to Iowa Western, a junior college there in Iowa, and then went to Troy, and then transferred to Utah State last year, and will now transfer to KU as a graduate student. You're looking at him over the course of his career. He played some corner early on and then played safety last year at Utah State, and he was able to produce. Didn't play the most snaps of any safety, but was on the field a lot. Over 250 snaps for him last year. He played 24 tackles, 4 pass breakups, and he's someone that can come in and compete at cornerback if KU feels like it needs more veteran presences there at that position, or he can slide back, provide depth at safety, maybe even play some nickel back there too if KU wants to go to a nickel package under Brian Borland's defensive scheme. And so overall, I think Jordan Peterson hit on it this spring. We talked to him and he said that with the cornerbacks in particular, he wanted to see consistency. And that was going to be what he looked for. And so no better way to help cultivate consistency than to go out and get veteran transfers who know what consistent football looks like. And they got that in Kalen Gervin coming from Michigan State, and someone like McGary too, who was a part of the rebuild there at Utah State last year, where they go from being a poor team in 2020 to in 2021 going to a bowl game. And so I think you're looking overall at McGary, Lorenzo McCaskill, and even some of these other transfers that have either been in the program since spring practice or they've added this offseason. These are players that have been around college football a lot and will help provide depth and help maybe prolong some of these younger players in their careers in college, because last season KU was one of the youngest rosters in all of college football. And now you're looking at adding a lot of these veteran players that can help maybe buy some of those players a red shirt to where maybe they're able to play in 2024 and 2025 and maybe even 2026 for some of these super young guys. So overall, you're looking at the likes of McCaskill and McGary being probably the final 2 pieces to KU football's roster puzzle for the 2022 season. And with Big 12 Media Day set to start later this week, we will, of course, have plenty of content coming from that about KU's transfers, the buzz coming out of the program as fall camp is set to begin in August. As always, stay tuned to Fog.net for the latest KU football, KU basketball, and KU recruiting coverage.